Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And today, in popular news, we have yet another case of stolen antiquities and looting. Except this one is finally starting to take a more positive approach because the authorities are actually investigating and doing something about it.
We've covered incidents where the authorities have acted before on this, Justin. However, this one, they seem to actually want to get a move on for once instead of letting this drag in litigation for years on end.
Yes. So, to jump into it, investigators from New York have seized 27 ancient artifacts valued at more than $13 million from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, asserting that the objects that are showing from ancient Rome, Greece, and Egypt were all looted. And looting in any context is a bad thing.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. The A number of these artifacts come from one man, a known antiquities trafficker by the name of Gianfranco Beccini, a man who looks like if Danny DeVito aged into the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Oh no.
um, Very trustworthy.
To the point where
The
he has an
artifact,
entire sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm showing
please.
here on screen he actually has an entire encyclopedia page on traffickingculture.org detailing some of his offenses and some of the things that he's trafficked. So this man
Yes,
is a noted
yes.
art like
This
antiquities dealer.
this man was very successful at what he did and very immoral in what he did.
Care to
Uh,
give a story or
uh,
tell a tale or
uh,
two?
I'm not really going to tell a tale too, but among the more noted, um, I'm just going to say allegations against him because I don't know what has actually made charges or hasn't. Uh, is that he has been accused of selling entire tombs in southern Italy wholesale to bidders.
Oh Jesus,
Uh,
Stork
just
Wars
straight,
styles.
just I assume so. I don't have a lot of the details. I am not particularly familiar with this part of the criminal underworld,
Bid on this
as you can
tomb. Bid
imagine.
here.
But
Buy this ancient Roman
um,
tomb.
he has been under investigation since 1994. He has been in operation since 1970, and he has sold to almost every museum in existence. Excuse me. So I had a little bit of a rage moment there.
But jumping back to the story, the items that were seized comes under three separate search warrants that were executed in the past 6 months. And the
And
items will be fully repatriated to their country of origin. 21 of which go to Italy, 6 to Egypt, and there's actual ceremonies that take place in this transfer. And this is a really big push by local law enforcement to hasten the process of
yeah,
repatriation so it doesn't tie up in litigation, and something that usually takes a really long time. And it's something that even um, a lot of museums still deal with today, not just with stolen artifacts, but also looted from graves and other
yeah.
locations, even here in the country.
Yeah, so yeah, this is a rampant problem, and it is nice to see a case where this doesn't drag on for years from the search, from everyone knowing that something is dirty to the search warrant to the repatriation. This usually takes at least 5 years, if not a full decade, to accomplish. And before we go any further, I would like to take a small note here to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Insofar as blame goes, the pieces in question were sold by Bacina to the Metropolitan Museum of Art before any accusations had ever been levied against him, before anyone suspected Bacina of being anything other than a legitimate arts dealer. So there is some point to know that they did acquire these um, artifacts in ignorance of their true origin. As Bacina did cover his tracks very well. I mean, he got away for almost 25 years before anyone even suspected him, and even then, it took decades for the charges to stick.
Well, and part of the one of the biggest issues with looting and artifacts it's very much a lot of gray area
Mhm.
where the artifacts originate from and where they were originally sourced from.
Yeah,
In Bacina's case, with him knowing where the sites are and having access to these locations, it be it adds a level of legitimacy, and with him being a dealer in antiquities, him knowing the location adds a veil of credibility to his sales pitch, because he's
yeah,
not able to say, oh, this artifact has no context. You go, oh no, this is sourced from a tomb of a person of this age and this date.
yeah. It's yeah. He's able to name the region, the type of site, the uh people to whom the site would have belonged, and that is very huge. If you can start naming those things and give general dates, that can get you past a lot of security checks for antiquities dealing, and he was very good at that. And it was just a small point of order I wanted to make, that I don't really hold the Metropolitan Museum of Art to be at fault for owning these collections, unlike some of the other people who have uh, been busted for owning questionable materials. This seems to me to be one where it was genuinely acquired, believing it was legitimate.
Yeah, and going back to how Pacina has this history of these things, it was noted later in the article that he's been convicted of receiving stolen antiquities by Greece. And in Italy, after a decade long investigation, one of his hordes of 6,300 Greco Roman artifacts were confiscated from him in 2011, so more than a decade ago. And a judge determined the items had been looted back to the early 70s. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the criminal charges were dropped due to statute of limitations, so they
Yeah,
weren't able to fully prosecute on him.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is a very big deal. He's been able to get around the law for so long because he's been doing this for so long. It's hard for a lot of the charges to stick because he's good enough at covering his tracks just long enough to get away,
Yeah.
which is really unfortunate. However, the antiquities that have been repatriated aren't just the classic Mediterranean. There is among these search warrants, I believe, a what is it? A 6th century stone sculpture of a Hindu mother goddess that the Met acquired in 93. The reason for this confiscation isn't hasn't been publicly declared by officials yet, but the simple fact is just that it's not just Greek and Italian pottery and statues that are getting shipped around. It's anything, and this this Hindu artifact is uniquely I should say, significant out of all the things seized, simply because it's opened the door for a number of Southeast Asian governments to call for repatriation of artifacts in the museum. Specifically, Cambodia is claiming that the museum's Khmer collection is largely looted. I don't know what proof they have of that, but it is a big deal that this government has a voice to reclaim its history.
It also, this article does a really good job of highlighting just how intertwined the antiquities market is with these gangs of looters, where their whole premise and whole job is to locate unidentified sites and remove any potentially valuable materials from it. But in the process, they destroy a lot of things that they don't have perceived value, and they also really mess up the or the archaeological record, not architectural, archaeological record that contains a lot of valuable data. Archaeologists as a whole don't value these sites monetarily. They value it by the data that can be provided, and our jobs are not to remove the
Yeah,
artifacts, but to record this data in situ, in its location that it has been in since it was effectively placed there X amount of millennia ago, or X amount of 100 years ago. It really destroys these sites. It ruins a lot of valuable information, and there's a lot of good valuable context that is lost just by people shoveling through. And this is why, no matter what part of the world you're in,
mm-hmm.
avocational or hobby archaeology tends to provide a problem when you don't know the proper recording methodology.
Yeah, because to archaeologists like us, the treasure is not wealth. The treasure is knowledge. Uh, that is what is valuable. That is what is important. And to the looters and the traffickers, the value is very much wealth. It's very much how much cash can I get in hand for this object, and it's often the case millions. And it also often means destroying dozens of other things that really, really do matter.
And that's also why a lot of people look down upon the antiquities market because, one, it's basically just a way for rich people to launder their money and say, oh, this historic statue is worth $2 million. That's a great way for me to store $2 million without, investing in something that could lose the money or, someone stealing. It's another way to accumulate wealth in a um, itemized way.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's
Commoditized that way.
yeah,
That's
yeah, and yeah. I don't necessarily know or think that they're really inflating the value of these artifacts per se when they bid on them. They are encouraging a culture that is something of a feeding frenzy of spending,
yeah.
but I do consider these artifacts invaluable. So I don't necessarily mind the fact that some rich dude is willing to pay $10 million for this statue,
My,
because in the end, that's providing a value to the object for people who don't necessarily value the knowledge.
but see, the issue I have with that is it commoditizes history and it incentivizes people who do these negative things because they don't see the information, they don't see that knowledge. What they see is dollar signs, and it encourages
Yeah.
this lifestyle of looting. Which, in hindsight and in their defense, a lot of governments are actively working to repatriate and to return these looted artifacts. It is something
Yes.
that is happening.
Yeah, and I would also just argue that um, these rich people having the ability to express appreciation or to appreciate it, the art and the history in a monetary sense, can lead to good things. Because if anything that can get rich people interested in trying to hold on to this stuff is generally a good thing, and trying to it's the key is forcing this into a transition to fund the museum.
Well, that's what I was about to say. My $1 billion idea right here.
Yeah, that's it. It's
You,
like that's the hard part, is transitioning this urge from I want to own a piece of it into let's fund a museum.
well, no. So here's my $1 million idea. Okay, it doesn't change the principles of what you said, but let these rich people buy these artifacts. Let them inflate the value. Let them get their money or perceived value out of them, but store it in perpetuity in a museum and just have a plaque, or maybe not a plaque, but a certificate of ownership, as
Like a
much.
park bench,
Yeah,
donated in honor of insert name here.
Rob Billionaire.
There's a whole thing with there's a whole thing with
Dedication.
sponsorships and things in museums. You know, Verizon Wireless presents the Dorito Don.
Yeah. But I
Like,
think this is a good point for us to wrap up here because we talked about the highlights of the article. We talked about
yeah,
some of the
and,
ethical sides of things.
yeah. And if you want to just have us react to each other's opinions on how museums and antiquities should function, uh, like the video. Do
And
it now.
and leave a comment down below if you'd like to see Cullum and I do a creator clash type boxing match to express our
Yeah,
opinions as to who's the
yeah,
supreme.
yeah. The reason we work together is because we agree on nothing.
It provides content. We're here for the content.
Mhm.
But thank you guys for
I
watching.
thought I thought we were here so that I could prove you wrong by virtue of being right.
And I'm here to actually provide ethics, which is ironic given my ethical standpoints. Yeah. But anyways, we'll leave that here. We'll leave it on that tragic bombshell. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment down below, and be sure to check out our next video, which will be coming out a week from today. We'll see you. We drop these episodes every week. Check them out. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.
So